great parents make great leaders. As a mom of two and an experienced leader in the tech industry, I've spent a lot of time thinking about styles and philosophies for both roles. Today, I'll be showing you how varying levels of support and expectation setting can shape your styles and in turn shape the outcomes in parenting as well as leadership. Years ago, in my desire to learn how to be the best parent I could be and break some generational cycles, I stumbled upon Diana Baumrind's parenting styles theory. When I talk about parenting outcomes, I'll be referencing her data on the topic, and when I talk about leadership outcomes, I'll be drawing on experiences and situations that I've observed through over a decade of leading and being led in a corporate setting. If this interests you, please support me in watching my first ever YouTube video. So let's look at this diagram here. We have two axes. One is the level of support and the other is the level of expectation setting. At the top left of the quadrant, we have the authoritarian style. Bottom left, we have uninvolved or neglectful parenting style. Bottom right, we have permissive style, and top right, we have the authoritative style. In some materials, the word support is swapped out for warmth. In leadership, the way I like to think of support is giving your reports the tools they need to do their best work and setting them up for success. Support can often be mistaken for interference. I find that oftentimes when people mistake support for interference, you get something called snowplow parenting. Now, this is a topic for a whole other discussion. So if you're interested in hearing about snowplow parenting and how I might translate that to a leadership style, let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to discuss that. When it comes to parenting, you can fall under the bucket of authoritarian if you're employing high levels of expectation setting, but low levels of support and warmth, sometimes referred to as involvement. So this looks like a parent who sets a very high bar for behavior and achievements onto their children and has very little interest in democratizing household decisions. They often struggle to show affection and praise. If you get really to a toxic level of authoritarianism, you can have the parent who uses their love as currency. So they're withholding their love and affection for when a child happens to have a spurt of perfection or does something to earn that love. It can teach them that their parents' love is conditional and can be a big source of anxiety. The data shows that children who have authoritarian parents can have low self-esteem, difficulty regulating their emotions, behavioral issues, academic failure, and mental health issues. In leadership, I've seen authoritarian leaders who hold their reports to really high expectations, but don't really give them the tools they need to succeed. They struggle to give any form of positive feedback or offer public praise. This can create a toxic environment and workspace. It can be really emotionally draining. The leader takes no input or feedback. They have their plan that they've set out for the team, and they expect the team to execute. There's no democratization of decision making, and this can lead to a lot of frustration. And it creates an environment where the report doesn't feel safe to voice their opinions, give their input, and makes the report feel undervalued in a sense that their opinion might not matter, and that ultimately means that they're not being utilized to their best of their abilities. With this style of leadership, it's very likely that the reports will hide their mistakes out of fear of stern punishment. Churn is also a big factor when you have an authoritative leader, because emotionally it's not sustainable to hold that environment for a long time. If the report does decide to stay, it's very likely that they'll absorb that authoritative leadership style and perpetuate the cycle, continuing on creating that toxic environment. There's a strategic time where you might withhold on the support and warmth a little bit and go to that right up against that authoritative and authoritarian line. And that's when there's a performance issue. You've entered a PIP, meaning performance improvement plan, and you've tried giving as much support and warmth as possible, and the report's not responding to that. So you strategically withhold that support in order to show the report that there's a sense of urgency and there's some gravity to the situation that they're in. But for the most part, this is not a sustainable approach, and you should aim to keep a positive, safe space and environment for your reports as much as possible. So let's look at uninvolved or neglectful parenting. These parents show low levels of support as well as expectation and goal setting. Now, it's important to try and not pass judgment on any of these styles. For the neglectful style, it's very likely that that parent doesn't have a frame of reference and was never shown what being a supportive and goal-setting parent has looked like. They just don't know any better, and they're perpetuating a generational cycle. It's also possible that this parent might lack the means and resources to actually be present in their children's lives. It's possible that they're busy making ends meet and paying bills and physically cannot spend that time with their children to provide that support and set those expectations. But ultimately, neglectful parenting has the most negative outcomes for children, according to Baumrind's parenting styles theory. You can see that children of neglectful parents can have low self-esteem, emotional detachment, difficulty regulating their emotions, poor social skills, and mental health issues. In leadership, likewise, the leader's not providing enough support and they're not setting enough expectations, leading to a neglectful style of leadership. I've seen teams be highly demoralized and ungrounded, lack a sense of direction when they have neglectful or uninvolved leaders. It's hard to know the impact and the value of the work that you're putting in if there's no feedback, positive or negative. If you're a leader and you're struggling to give more support and set expectations because you're overloaded with responsibilities, you have too much on your plate, you have a lot of deliverables to get across the finish line before you can put in the true leadership work, it's important to talk to your leaders about staffing solutions, or look at the work that you have and think about delegating some of it so that you can get to the level of support and expectation setting necessary to get out of that neglectful area of the quadrant. Next, let's look at permissive parenting. This is when the parent provides a lot of support and warmth, but does not set a lot of expectations and goals. This is oftentimes referred to as indulgent parenting. There are few rules, no punishment. Parents are very warm and supportive, and they encourage open dialogue and freedom of expression. And children of permissive parents have shown to have the highest levels of confidence in this quadrant. That level of confidence, as you get lower in the expectations spectrum, that can translate to entitlement, or to put things bluntly, a appearance of a spoiled child. This is because everything is given to them and they're not given the expectation that there's work needed to achieve and accomplish certain things and to earn certain things. So that creates an illusion in their minds that everything is owed to them because they have never done, or they seldom need to do things in order to earn things. Even with these low points, so far out of the 3 styles that we've talked about, this shows the most positive outcome for children. They tend to have better relationship skills, better social skills, like I said previously, a higher self-esteem. So even with the low level of expectation setting, we're now getting to an area where we're seeing more positive outcomes for the children. In my opinion, here what I'm seeing is the result of the contrast between the authoritarian parent and the permissive parent, where there's a scarcity of love and support, whereas permissive parenting, there's an abundance of support and warmth. And it doesn't matter what the child does, there's an unconditional love and support there for them. Now, I think it's important to not mistake providing love with providing other privileges and goods. A parent's love should always be unconditional, and the child should also learn that the real world requires you to put in efforts into things in order to earn certain privileges and ultimately have a successful life. It's very important, I think, to make that distinction so we don't fall back into the authoritarian where we're using love and warmth as currency. In leadership, I see that permissive leaders can create a very positive and friendly environment and a friendly rapport between themselves and their reports. And I think that that's also the most positive style for leadership we've seen so far. The problem might occur when a leader might become reluctant to give feedback or set expectations that are too high out of fear that they might hurt that friendly relationship that they have with their reports. And ultimately, that's a disservice to each other on a professional level, as well as a disservice to the team because they're not working and performing to the best of their abilities out of a fear of breaking a friendship. I do find that this style can work really well for leaders of a team where you have highly skilled, experienced, and self-driven team members, because they might not need the level of support and expectation setting to perform at the level that the team needs. That's because they have been here before. They could be rising leaders themselves. They could be leaders in individual contributor roles. So it's okay to sometimes ease up on the pressure of that expectation setting for those types of contributors. At any level of experience and skill for any given team, it's still essential that a leader can efficiently communicate the direction the team and the organization are going in, set clear goals and road mapping for the foreseeable future. And this is important for the team to themselves make decisions based on what they know about the ecosystem and environment and the future around them. So even if you are easing up on the pressure of your leadership style, it's still important to communicate very efficiently about the direction you expect the team to go in, as well as important information that this team should know about things that are going on around this team in a broader company ecosystem. That brings us to our last style, the authoritative style. This is when leaders and parents employ high expectation and goal setting and also provide support and warmth and involvement, the tools that the children and the reports need to accomplish their goals to the best of their abilities. Authoritative parents set clear boundaries, explain reasons behind family rules, are warm, nurturing, and supportive. They encourage open communication, listen to their children's perspective, and freely give praise when it's due. The data shows that the outcomes of authoritative parenting are better self-esteem, emotional regulation, academic success, social competence, and problem solving. The challenge with this style is that it's hard. It takes a lot of effort and energy to not only set and define boundaries and rules, but also enforce them in an effective way while keeping your emotional state intact. It is very emotionally taxing to do this. Sometimes in parenting, it's easier to just let the kids break the rules here and there to avoid a meltdown or need to enforce a rule when you're already so mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausted from the act of parenting. That might cause us to slip down to the permissive area of the quadrant. And again, we don't pass judgment on parents who employ any of these parenting styles. We do the best we can with what we have. An authoritative leader sets clear goals and guidelines. They are very generous with their positive feedback. They help their reports understand the true value and impact of their work. They engage in open communication and set a culture of collaboration across the team. This gives the whole team a safe space to respectfully debate the decisions, ultimately leading to the best outcomes for the initiatives they're working on. A supportive leader makes the workspace generally more enjoyable and motivates the team to put out their best work. Again, when I talk about support, especially in the context of leadership, to me that means providing reports with the tools they need to deliver the highest quality work to the best of their abilities. This might mean seeking out and implementing training materials that can help those reports be enriched professionally. It can mean iterating and collaborating on a process that makes sense for each individual team and the dynamic with which they work together. Now, this is a whole other subject to be explored. If you'd like for me to put together a video about my experiences in iterating and collaborating on processes, this is an agile methodology practice, let me know and I will put together a video for you. Giving your reports the tools to succeed can also mean, as a servant leader, doing the legwork to define the scope of the work and collaborate with external teams so that when it's time for the individual contributor to do their work, they can focus on what it is that they've signed up to do. In the context of engineering, it means doing all the peripheral work so that the engineer can focus on the coding, which is what they have signed up to do professionally. So that concludes my exploration into Diana Baumrind's parenting styles theory and how levels of expectation and support can shape your parenting styles as well as your leadership styles. I hope this video has brought you light, clarity, and insight. Please subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on content about people leadership, success in the technology career, my own job hunt journey, and more. See you soon.